Hey everyone, my name is Matt. I'm the youth and family pastor at Cornerstone Church in Marshfield. I'm here today with your Cornerstone Connection, a daily devotional. Well, if it's your first time with us, welcome. We're so glad to have you with us. Please know that we are making our way here at Cornerstone through the New Testament. We're reading that together this year. There's a link connected to this video in the description. If you'd like to join us, you are more than welcome to do so. And please know you don't have to read the previous 220 some days. Just jump in with us in 1 Corinthians. We're in chapter 7 today. We would love to be reading the Bible with you and growing together this year. So, we are in 1 Corinthians 7. We were there yesterday and we're there today. Pastor Andy did a great job talking to us about what Paul was getting into in this chapter. And as you'll have subtitled in your Bible probably, it's subtitled marriage. And so Paul is talking about marriage and he's talking about singleness. And what I just want to start by saying before I get into today's text is that when we read this and we interpret it and when we perhaps discuss it with other people, it's really important that we understand what Paul is saying and what he is not saying, okay? And a little study I did with one of my favorite Bible commentators really helped me to understand what Paul is saying. Because I think if we read this chapter too fast and we don't do a little bit of study, a little bit of digging, what's going to happen is we're going to think that Paul is telling us that marriage is bad and that singleness is good. And what this commentator said is what Paul isn't doing is he's not making an argument about one thing being good and the other being bad. Instead, what Paul is doing is he's laying out the benefits of both, and in particular, he's talking about what can be the great benefits of singleness. And what we need to most definitely take away from this text, and is actually in yesterday's reading, is verse 7 in chapter 7, okay? And Paul says this, let me just revisit that for a second. He says, I wish that all men were as I am. So he's saying single, okay? But each man has his own gift from God. One has this gift, another has that. So guess what, church? Just in case you were ever confused when you read this text, if you're a single, guess what? That's a gift. If you're married, guess what? That's a gift. And we should view both as a gift, okay? Now the question is, what do we do with that gift? And Paul gets into that today, okay? So in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, I'm going to move us over to verses 32 through 36. Now, our Bible reading plan covers more than that, but I think I just want to hone in on this and see what Paul has to say to us, okay? So here's what he says, verse 32 through 36. He says, I would like you to be free from concern. Other versions say, I'd like you to be free from anxiety. An unmarried man is concerned about the Lord's affairs, how he can please the Lord. But a married man is concerned about the affairs of this world, how he can please his wife. And his interests are divided. An unmarried woman or virgin is concerned about the Lord's affairs. Her aim is to be devoted to the Lord in both body and spirit. But a married woman is concerned about the affairs of this world, how she can please her husband. Okay? But then he says this in verse 36. I am saying this for you, for your own good, not to restrict you, but that you may live in a right way in undivided devotion to the Lord. All right? So this is so important for us to zoom in on today, especially that last part. I'm saying this for your own good, not to restrict you. So married people out there, those who desire to be married, Paul's not trying to restrict you or restrain you or anything like that, okay? But he says, but that you may live in a right way in undivided devotion to the Lord. So let me just sum things up with this and hopefully bring some clarity. What Paul is telling us in 1 Corinthians 7, again, if you're single, count it as a gift. If you're married, count it as a gift. And what his heart is wherever you find yourself today, in whatever circumstance, whether you're single and you want to stay that way, or you're single and you want to be married, if you're married and you love your marriage, or you're married and marriage is really hard right now, he wants you to know you have a gift in your singleness and in your marriage. But whatever the case may be, his heart for us is that whether we are single or we are married, that our hearts will be fully devoted to the Lord. If we're married and we have kids, are we going to have more distractions, or are we going to have more things going on, more things to manage within our house, and perhaps be more distracted than the person who is single? Sure, perhaps. But let's be careful to not just assign the single person that they are just never distracted from the Lord and they're just fully devoted and not concerned about anything else. Let's be honest. All of us is fallen. All of us are broken. And all of us have the tendency to stray from the Lord and not be devoted to Him. So what Paul is telling us is both singleness, marriage are a gift. Both are good. Both are great. And the Lord may lead you one way or the other. Count them each as a gift. But whether you are single or whether you're married, make sure that the most important relationship in your life and the one who you are most devoted to isn't yourself, isn't your spouse, isn't your kids, isn't your coworkers, but it is the Lord, and that He comes first. And that in your life, it is all about His glory and the good of others, because in that, they'll be good for you. All right, friends, I hope that brings some clarity, and I can't wait to see you next time on the Cornerstone Connection.